How to become a priority in a woman's life in 6 steps. If you're tired of giving everything and still being invisible to her, if you feel like you're always chasing while she keeps pulling away, if you're sick of waiting for texts that never come, this video is not just for you, it is about you. Men today are being sidelined, disrespected, and emotionally drained. You're putting her first, but she doesn't even see you. You give your loyalty, your time, your energy, and she gives you excuses. You've been lied to about how to win her heart. Now I'm giving you the truth. And if you don't take these steps today, she'll keep choosing someone else tomorrow. Comment: I'm done chasing if you're ready to stop being an option and start becoming the priority. Number 1. Stop chasing. You keep giving and she keeps pulling back. But what you don't see is that your effort is interpreted as desperation, and desperation never earns desire. Every message you send without reply, every plan you initiate without her interest, every good morning text she ignores is a silent lesson, teaching her she doesn't need to try. She knows you're there, and the moment she knows you're always there, she stops showing up. Not because she's evil, but because effort without consequence leads to entitlement, and she now feels entitled to your attention without having to earn it. Your job is not to keep proving your worth to someone who never asked for it. Your job is to see when you are being emotionally manipulated into a dynamic where you are forever auditioning, and she is forever the judge. That imbalance destroys your self-respect, and worse, it makes you addicted to her validation. You start checking your phone more. You start wondering what you did wrong. You overthink her silence, justify her coldness, and convince yourself that if you just do more, she'll finally see your value. But she won't. She saw it, and she decided it wasn't enough because you gave it away too easily. Anything that comes without effort is thrown away without thought. So fall back. Not to hurt her, but to heal yourself. Not to punish her, but to protect your dignity. Real strength is when you walk away silently, knowing you could have stayed and begged, but instead you chose yourself. When you stop chasing, you stop bleeding. You stop shrinking. You stop trying to fix what isn't broken in you, but broken in how you see yourself. That shift changes everything. She either comes back, or you won't want her anymore. Either way, you win, and that's the moment you become a priority, to yourself first, and eventually to someone else who sees your value without you having to scream it. You've been conditioned to think your value comes from how hard you love, how often you check in, how many times you forgive. But you were lied to. The truth is, the more you do for someone who does less for you, the more they believe they don't have to do anything at all. You think you're proving your loyalty, but you're proving your low standards. You think you're being patient, but you're enabling disrespect. And while you're calculating your next thoughtful gesture, she's calculating how much less she can give you before you finally snap. But you never snap. You endure. You lower your voice, your needs, your expectations, until you can't recognize yourself. That's not love. That's submission. And submission without reciprocation becomes emotional suicide. This isn't about being cold or closed off. It's about having enough awareness to know when someone is benefiting from your presence while offering you absence. When you chase, you're not leading, you're following. You're not chosen. You're choosing someone who's undecided about you. Imagine standing in front of a locked door, knocking louder each time, hoping it opens, while inside she's watching through the peephole, fully capable of letting you in, but entertained by your effort. That is what chasing feels like. That is the humiliation you put yourself through, and that's the reason you wake up feeling empty. You weren't rejected, you were overlooked because you made yourself too easy to access. There's nothing attractive about someone who can't walk away. There's no power in availability that isn't earned. So stop. Reclaim your silence. Reclaim your path. Replace the need for her attention with the discipline to outgrow this version of yourself. Build your body, your mind, your income, your world, not for her, but so you never need someone who doesn't see you. In this silence, you'll hear the truth. You never needed her to choose you. You needed to choose yourself. You needed to stop chasing a version of love that only existed in your head. Because once you realize love should not feel like a competition, like a plea, like a puzzle to solve, you'll stop running toward people who make you feel replaceable. And you'll finally sit with the truth that freedom comes not when someone chooses you, but when you no longer need them to. And if you're ready to never need them again, to choose yourself every single day with clarity, power, and peace, then the Stoic relationship blueprint was written for you. It's not just a book. It's a foundation built from timeless principles that sharpen your mindset, break toxic patterns, and teach you how to walk away without anger, without fear, without regret. And now it's available as an audiobook, so you can listen to it while walking, training, driving, or any time your mind needs truth more than noise. You'll learn to stop reacting, stop explaining, and start leading. No confusion, no begging, no chaos. Just you, finally grounded. And the best part? Once you get it, it's yours forever. Every lesson, every word, always within reach, whenever you need it. The link is in the comments. Get it, own it, change everything. Number 2, become less predictable. When you are always where she expects, doing what she assumes, responding exactly when she wants, you become part of the background noise, not a man who holds presence. Predictability is not safety. It is boredom wearing a mask. She knows your replies before you type them. She knows your schedule better than she knows her own. And because you are easy to find, she has no need to look. No curiosity, no excitement. You think consistency means care, but in her world, it means she doesn't have to try. And when she doesn't have to try, she doesn't value what's given. Your availability becomes her expectation, not her reward. You reply too fast. She waits longer. You call again. She feels nothing. Not because she's cruel, but because people don't desire what they control. What you give freely, without condition, she will discard casually. You want her attention. Withdraw yours. You want her to ask what you're doing. Stop telling her. You want to feel missed. Give her space to notice you're gone. But that won't happen until you break the habit of being predictable. Cancel the cycle. Don't text good morning. Don't double-check if she got home safe. Not because you're careless, but because you care more about your dignity than her temporary approval. When she stops hearing from you, she starts thinking about you. When she wonders where you are, she starts questioning her importance in your life. That question is the beginning of desire. A man with options doesn't update people on every movement. He lets his actions do the talking. So get busy. Build something that outlasts her validation. When you are unpredictable, you're no longer on her leash. You're on your path. And that path leads to power, not dependence. When every text you send is anticipated, when every reply is instant, you remove all suspense from the connection and replace it with routine. And routine in the early stages of emotional connection is poison. She stops feeling anything. She starts looking elsewhere, not because she's interested in someone better, but because she wants to feel that emotion of not knowing, of wondering. Predictability kills the spark. She begins to test just how much she can disrespect your time, sends one-word replies, ghosts for days, sends delayed responses just to see if you'll still show up when she finally remembers you. And most of you do, because you think patience is strength. But patience, when misplaced, becomes weakness. Every time you prove you'll stay despite the way she treats you, you're teaching her to try less. The man she desires is the one she can't fully read, the one she can't schedule like a dentist appointment. He responds when it aligns with his priorities, not her mood swings. He shows up when it makes sense, not when she snaps her fingers. That man is interesting. That man is a challenge. And if you want to be that man, you have to stop living your life around hers. Don't cancel your plans because she's suddenly free. Don't adjust your rhythm because she's inconsistent. Be unpredictable by being unavailable for nonsense. And when she notices the change, when she starts asking why you're different, don't explain. Let her feel it. Let your silence speak. Let your distance teach her what your presence used to mean, because when a man who used to give everything begins giving nothing, it shocks the system. That's when she starts questioning her role. That's when she starts caring, not when you beg, not when you over-explain, but when your patterns shift, when your rhythm changes, when your energy disappears from her world. That's when she feels the impact. Predictability is not love. Predictability is not loyalty. Predictability is emotional bankruptcy disguised as effort. You're spending your attention in places that no longer yield connection. You're wasting your consistency on someone who thrives on inconsistency, and until you break that loop, you will always be chasing clarity from someone who benefits from your confusion. So pull back, not to manipulate, but to rebalance. If she values you, she'll reach out. If she doesn't, you've just freed yourself from a dead end. And in that freedom, you'll find peace. In that peace, you'll find power. And in that power, you'll never again need to be predictable to feel worthy. Number 3, say no more. Often, every time you say yes when you want to say no, you abandon yourself to please someone who barely acknowledges your sacrifice. You think you're keeping the peace, but you're just trading your dignity for temporary approval. She doesn't see you as strong. She sees you as safe, predictable, boring. And the moment you become easy to control, you become easy to replace. A man who can't say no is a man who doesn't know where he ends and where someone else begins. You bend until you break, and then you apologize for being broken. You accommodate until there's no room left for you in your own life. You say yes to disrespect, yes to one-sided effort, yes to emotional neglect, not because you want to, but because you think that's what being kind looks like. But kindness without self-respect is not virtue, it's weakness in disguise. If she disrespects your time and you still show up, she learns your presence costs nothing. If she ignores your needs and you still chase, she learns your love requires no investment. Saying no is not about punishment, it's about preservation. You're not rejecting her, you're choosing yourself. And that choice is uncomfortable, especially when you're used to being liked more than you're used to being respected. But if you don't start saying no, you will live a life where you are constantly tolerated but never valued. And that quiet resentment you carry will eventually turn into self-hate. Saying no is the first step in building a spine. It's what separates men who are used from men who are chosen. You think your value comes from being agreeable, from saying yes to every request, every last-minute plan, every inconsiderate behavior disguised as normal. You've been trained to believe that saying no is selfish, that denying her access to your time and energy is wrong, that setting a boundary means you're too harsh. But the reality is, every boundary you refuse to set becomes a door she walks through with less and less respect. You don't gain love by saying yes to everything. You lose yourself. And what's worse is you teach her that your needs are negotiable. You teach her that your standards are flexible. And people only respect what they believe they cannot manipulate. If she knows she can get away with being late, flaking, disrespecting you, and still have you available the next day, you've taught her your limits don't exist. But when you say no, clearly, firmly, consistently, everything changes. You create space. You create consequence. You stop being the emotional dumping ground and start becoming the man who stands on principles. She might push back. She might call you cold, different, distant. Let her. Those words are reactions to losing control. You were never supposed to be her puppet. You were never meant to abandon your needs for her comfort. Saying no is how you teach people to treat you. Saying no is how you unlearn the habit of betraying yourself for validation. Saying no is not an act of aggression. It is a declaration of worth. And the longer you avoid it, the more you will suffer quietly. Because resentment grows where boundaries are absent, and eventually you will either explode or disappear. But if you learn to say no early, you save yourself years of regret. You stop giving discounts on your presence. You stop negotiating with people who don't negotiate with your emotions. You live with clarity, peace, and purpose. So say no to disrespect, to inconsistency, to emotional games. Not once, not sometimes, always. Until saying no feels as natural as breathing. Until you don't need to justify it. Until you don't feel guilt for protecting your peace. And when that day comes, you'll realize the people who truly value you never needed a yes to stay. They respected your no because they respected you. Number 4, level up yourself. You think she'll want you more if you keep proving yourself to her, but the truth is, she only starts paying attention when you start leveling up without her being the reason. If you're doing everything to get her back, she still has power over you. But when your growth isn't about her, when it's about you fixing the parts you've neglected, building the skills you once put on hold, chasing the goals you buried to make her happy, then the dynamic changes. You become a man who's unavailable for nonsense, too focused on purpose to care about someone who couldn't see your value when you were at your lowest. And this isn't revenge, it's redemption. It's waking up one day and realizing the pain she left you with was the fuel you never knew you needed. Every moment you spend checking if she viewed your story is time you could use building the story that no longer includes her. Leveling up isn't about luxuries, cars, or status. It's about discipline. It's about doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. It's about showing yourself that you are not the kind of man who needs to beg for love to feel valuable. Because once you see the results of working on yourself, your standards shift. You no longer want her attention. You want peace. You don't crave her validation. You crave progress. You stop needing closure because you become the closure, and she sees it. When she reaches out and your tone is calm, indifferent, focused, that's when she realizes she's not your focus anymore. That's when you win. You sit in silence, not because you've run out of things to say, but because you've started listening to what your life is trying to tell you. That the version of you who needed her to feel whole is the version of you that was always at risk of breaking. And now you pick up the weights not just to build muscle, but to build patience. You read not just to feel smart, but to discipline your mind. You save money not just to spend it, but to break free from needing anyone who treats you like an option. You become stable in your habits, focused in your mission, and untouchable in your composure. She can test you, she can call, she can flirt, but the old you no longer answers. The new you is too busy building. You eat better not to impress her, but to have energy for what really matters. You cut distractions not to punish her, but to reward yourself. You keep promises to yourself even when no one's watching. You plan your life like it matters, because it does. Every step forward becomes proof that you were never the weak one. You were just distracted. You were never unworthy. You were just misdirected. And the more you level up, the more you understand that her rejection was a gift. She pushed you away and gave you space to discover who you really are. And now, when you walk into rooms, you don't hope to be noticed. You expect to be respected, because you've earned it. Not by pretending to be better, but by becoming better in silence, by suffering in private, by waking up early when no one claps, by skipping comfort for growth. You become the man who doesn't just survive heartbreak, he turns it into fuel. That's leveling up. That's power. That's what makes her realize she lost something she'll never find again. Not because you've changed, but because you finally became who you were meant to be. Number 5. Don't beg for time or attention. Every time you beg for her time, her attention, her presence, you teach her that your worth depends on her availability, and the moment she senses that, she no longer has to earn your presence. It's already guaranteed. You text first, you double text, you check when she was last online, and all of it screams one thing. You have made her validation more important than your peace. This is how self-worth erodes, not with a dramatic moment, but with every ignored message you tolerate, every one-sided conversation you continue, every broken plan you excuse because you're afraid to be alone. You think fighting for her time shows love, but all it shows is emotional poverty. You want her to see your effort and be touched by your devotion, but she sees it as desperation, and no one desires desperation. You don't win her over by being available every second. You win yourself back by learning that people who want to talk to you make the time. You're not too busy to be ignored. You're too valuable to be tolerated. So stop chasing the breadcrumb conversations. Stop apologizing for needing respect. Stop thinking silence is something you need to fill. Let her absence speak, and listen to what it says. If you matter, she will show you. And if she doesn't, that silence is not punishment, it's clarity. And clarity is a gift. Walk away with your dignity intact, because begging for a place in someone's life always ends with you losing your place in your own. You sit by the phone thinking that one more message might remind her you exist, but the more you chase, the more invisible you become, not because you aren't enough, but because you're trying to convince someone who already decided they don't have to try for you. Every unanswered call is a boundary being ignored, not by her, but by you. You have become addicted to potential, to the version of her you imagined, and you keep throwing effort at a ghost of connection, hoping it'll come alive. But what grows from neglect? Nothing worth keeping. She knows she can disappear for days, and you'll still respond the second she returns. She knows you'll always explain your feelings and apologize for asking to be heard. And because you have taught her there's no consequence, she stops trying. Not because she's heartless, but because you've made yourself optional. When you stop begging, everything shifts. You regain space in your own life. You reclaim hours you used to spend waiting, wondering, breaking down every sentence she said, thinking maybe, just maybe, she meant more. But when someone wants you, there is no confusion, there is no breadcrumbing, there is no delay. Wanting time with someone isn't a weakness, begging for it is. Wanting connection isn't foolish, but ignoring your own needs to chase hers is. It's not love to shrink for someone else's comfort. It's not strength to stay silent while you're slowly being erased. And it's not self-respect to give all of yourself in return for someone's attention when they're bored. Attention given under pressure is not connection, it's control. You don't need to be louder to be heard by the right person. You just need to speak with silence. Let her feel the gap. Let her feel the version of you that used to chase is gone. And in that space, rebuild. Rebuild your focus. Rebuild your confidence. Rebuild your sense of value so deeply that you never again feel the need to beg anyone for the things that should be given freely. That's not cold. That's self-respect. Number 6. Let her feel your absence. Letting her feel your absence isn't about punishing her. It's about reminding her that you're not a background character in her life. You're the man she once overlooked and now realizes she may never find again. You're not doing it to make her chase. You're doing it to stop chasing what never saw you clearly. When you remove your presence, you remove the comfort she had in knowing you'd always be there. And that silence, that's where reality hits. Not because she misses what you said, but because she now sees what your energy did for her. The calm, the reassurance, the validation, the consistency. And now it's gone. Not because you hate her, but because you love yourself enough to stop being an emotional placeholder. You walk away with composure, not rage. You disappear with peace, not bitterness. She scrolls through your old messages, and suddenly, the texts that meant little at the time now carry weight. Your silence echoes louder than your explanations ever did. You're no longer reacting, no longer proving, no longer reminding her of your worth. You've simply removed the access. And in doing so, you've created the one thing she never had to deal with before: space to feel your absence. She used to know you'd be there. She used to feel secure in the idea that no matter how far she pushed, no matter how little effort she gave, no matter how often she disappeared and returned, you would still be right there, waiting, hoping, forgiving. And then one day, you weren't. You stopped calling, you stopped explaining, you stopped justifying her behavior to yourself. You stopped needing closure because you became it. And that shift wasn't loud, it was silent. That silence is what forces reflection. That's when she starts to remember how it felt to be around someone who truly cared, who asked how her day was, who showed up when she didn't deserve it. And it's in your absence that she realizes she was never looking for better. She just didn't recognize great when it stood in front of her. But this isn't about her realization. It's about your evolution. Because when you step back from trying to fix someone's lack of effort, you step into the truth of how little they were willing to give. You see it clearly, finally. The one-word replies, the delayed texts, the last-minute cancellations. You called it independence. You called it space. You called it modern dating. But what it really was indifference. And now, you're done making excuses for behavior that drained you. Letting her feel your absence means no more check-ins, no more casual responses to late-night texts, no more being emotionally available to someone who sees you as an option. You don't need to block her. You don't need to announce your departure. You just live. You live so well, so focused, so deeply in your purpose, that even if she looks, she sees a man who is no longer waiting. She sees a man who used to beg, now building, who used to explain, now silent, who used to chase, now chosen by himself. And that presence once gone becomes priceless, because she thought you were replaceable, until she replaced you and didn't feel the same, until she got attention from others and didn't feel peace, until the silence stopped being quiet and started becoming a question she couldn't answer. Why did he stop caring? And the truth: you didn't stop caring. You just started caring about yourself more. And that is the most powerful thing any man can do. Remove himself without hate, build without noise, and let absence speak the truth words never could. You've spent years chasing love that never stayed, attention that never fulfilled you, and people who were never yours. And no one told you the truth, that the more you give without standards, the less you're worth in their eyes. The Stoic relationship blueprint is the truth they never wanted you to find. Because once you read it or listen to the audiobook version while walking, jogging, or just getting your mind right, you'll never see relationships the same way again. You'll stop chasing, stop suffering, and start leading with calm, unshakable power. This book is packed with timeless Stoic principles that will transform your life immediately. And once you have it, it's yours for life. Society wants you weak, reactive, and silent. This book makes you focused, strong, and dangerous. The link is in the comments. Comment, "I choose clarity," if you're ready to grab this ebook. Like this video, and subscribe to help more men escape the lies and save themselves years of silent regret.